Hey guys, Sam here, back with you, mid-afternoon on October 12th. I wanted to show you something here. It's not so much about a new trade, but something that you have to deal with in cryptocurrency, and maybe we just look at it together and see, how we can deal with it. So, on a day like today, when Bitcoin is just screaming, I'm always curious to think, okay, well, if Bitcoin is up that much, what could be up today against Bitcoin? So I'll go over to the list here, and I'll just go over to performance, and I'll put it against Bitcoin and say, okay, well, if you're spreading against Bitcoin and you're up today, well, then something's going on, because I want to know about it. So I look here and I see a couple of coins. I don't, some of these, I recognize the name, but I don't know a lot about them. So number one here is ParkByte. So I went and looked at that. That's a really interesting concept of using blockchain for disseminating parking spaces and the whole parking mechanism. Just wild. Sometimes I'm just blown away by, the ingenuity of people applying blockchain to things that you would never think of. And yet there we have blockchain into the parking business. Wild. But I also went over to CoinGecko and looked at it, and it's a relatively new coin. It was not even close to 50 on their metrics. So, so I pull back on that. It's one, now I recognize that name. It's one to watch, but, I try and stay consistent with the approach. So if you're not, at least in the high 40s on that scale, then I'm going to watch it and maybe give it time to mature. But then I see this Mona coin. So again, I'd never seen the name before. So I come over here to CoinGecko and type it in and, try and see what they're all about. This is no small crypto, right? So first thing you see is, they've been around for almost 4 years. They have a market cap of 114 million. This is no new little, tiny crypto trying to make a name for itself. This is a dominant currency here. And so now I'm looking here. Now they're at 47 on the scale. Close enough to keep looking considering what I'm seeing here. Now, I'll let you come here. You can see what it's all about. And look down here. This is an established cryptocurrency. So good numbers down here. I'd like to see it 50 or higher, but 47 is close enough to take a look. So this kind of dovetails into some things we were looking at yesterday. And the point I'm trying to make here is, you see this a lot in crypto, right? And it's unusual. You don't see it particularly much in other asset classes, and maybe it's because crypto is a relatively new asset class, but this is the kind of thing that you see a lot. And so now a lot of people will write me or comment on YouTube and say, hey, would you look at this, would you look at that, what do you think of that? I might analyze something and approach it in the methodology that I can consistently apply to any chart that I'm looking at. And if my analysis implies that the trend is lower and the fibs are suggesting it's the targets are not hit yet, and lower prices are likely, I get damn near hate mail. People get really emotional or tell me I'm just a complete idiot and don't know what I'm talking about. And that is kind of I guess that just comes with putting out material, right? So, it doesn't bother me as much as it makes me curious to see how people get so emotionally vested into these assets. But, that's the case. So, but let me make the point here. So this is Mona coin, right? So this is, this coin's been around for 4 years. So this is, something, a lot of times when people ask me to look at things, this is what I'll see. So if you look at this, you got to wonder, okay, well, so going back, you had, here's, I guess the ICO was here, and then so pump, dump, then here's some sort of, volatility. But then we go into this very long period of consolidation. And this is very, very common, particularly with coins against Bitcoin. And the assumption here is that what's happening now is that all the weak longs have now abandoned, right? Or they were stopped out. And the crypto just goes into this long phase of almost dormancy, where it's just not doing anything, and so it gets off the radar. And the reality is that what's happening here is those that are either have followed this coin, or they know something about the story technically, or they're in touch with the development community, whatever the reason is that they have some knowledge that implies that this is a coin that could really start to move. There's an accumulation phase that happens here. This is accumulation. So you're buying it so inexpensively, the idea is that as long as they survive and don't go to zero, that eventually this is going to start to move. Well, as to when that's going to happen, or the timing of that, technically, I can't help you there. I don't know how you know when that's going to happen. So here's Monacoin, and so we get the first signs of life here when we break the Vegas wave. So these are little spikes of volatility, right? So is there enough there? Well, I suppose if you broke it down, you could start pulling fibs from it, but really, signs of life, good, yeah, great, okay. So, is it on your radar? Again, unless you know something about this coin or what's going on with the developers, I don't know how you would know that. But, then, move a little volatility. Now we're well above the Vegas wave, but, then we get another pullback, and then we get this. So how do you know that's coming? I don't know. I wish I did. I don't know how you know that's coming, other than you've seen sparks here, and you're not spread into other cryptos, or you have enough capital in reserves to spread yourself into a coin like this for whatever reason, and then we get the big pump here, and then we're back down again. So technically, I don't know how you would trade that. I just don't know how you would approach that. And then look what happens today. So, I guess what I'm saying is that, as a technical trader trying to work with patterns that repeat in the market and probabilities, and looking for low risk with good 3-to-1, 4-to-1, or higher upside potential, that's not something that I can trade. And this is every crypto trader's wet dream right there. You come in, and then next morning we've had a little pop, and then boom, it's up like that, 600%. I don't know how you find that, but you're going to see that the more you look at charts. That's an incredibly common path. That's an incredibly common scenario where we get little pump, there's the action, more accumulation. Maybe that's how you know. I don't know how you trade that. I don't. So what's my point? Well, okay, so now it's on the radar. Okay, right. So this thing has this has been the pump, but is it ultimately just this this kind of thing? Are we is it just that? Is this a pump, a dump following? I don't know. I'm sure I'll get some strong worded commentary about how ignorant I am to Monacoin and where it's going to go, and it's off to the moon. I guess my point is, as a trader, as a technician, I do not know how you would approach that. I mean, somebody bought it up here. I promise you that. Somebody's trying to chase it. They bought it up here. So where does it go? That's the daily. We go down to the hourly and look at this and say, okay, well, again, I don't know how it would be on your radar, but you could look at that and say, okay, well, we've had the big spike. Maybe there's an opportunity now. This is one that I'm going to watch. Maybe this is some sort of impulse. We're going to put in a correction. We'll look to give it some structure. So come on, maybe this is what follows here. So we wick the 50. Do we come back down? Algos, likely get, with that kind of reaction, that's going to draw attention to it. Or are we simply, looking at it this way? If I go to the last low I can find here, which, coincidentally right in the pocket on the Vegas wave, comes down to the 65. There it is again. I don't know how many times I show that to you, but it's a lot. So we go right between the 6.5 or the 618 and the 6.5 into the little window, and then we get a rip. But so now you've got conflicting conflicting. You got a fib fight. You've got the fibs on the short side and the fibs on the long side. Who wins? I can't tell you. I have no idea. I can see we've got targets up here. But if this thing starts to develop in some sort of a structure that we can get our arms around, instead of just the buy it because it's low mentality, that's going to be tough to trade. But it's one to watch, and I'd never heard of it until I just looked to say, well, who's outperforming Bitcoin today? So that's a way that you can, go look, and maybe you get, you find something that really piques your interest, and maybe it's the fundamental story. I don't know. I'm just saying that, this is unless you knew that was coming for some reason, I don't know how you're there. I don't. One more, because this is someone had me look at this just very recently. Here's stellar lumens. So here's I see this a lot in crypto, a lot. There's the pump, at failure. Is it a pump and a dump? I don't know. But that's not a pattern that I would look for. So if I see that, I'm immediately looking elsewhere. But maybe I'm the greater fool here, because look what it does. So here's if I go back again. So here's the idea being. Failure, long accumulation period. So are you buying it just because it's inexpensive? Do you know something about the story? Well, in this case, as people asking me to look at it, said, oh, this thing's gonna really rip, so look at it. So I guess the idea is you're just buying through this accumulation, because your assumption is that as long as it doesn't go to zero, I'm here against Bitcoin at 0.00002 Bitcoin. So what's the dollar risk? Not a lot. And then boom, look at that. Again, how do you know? And if it takes off, unless you were already in, well, you can't chase that. I don't know how you would. Again, that's the daily, and then all the way back down. Can you trade that? Unless you knew that was there and you had profit targets, and if you doubled your money and then doubled again, maybe that's some sort of measure. But it comes and gives it all back, and more. Now, are we back down to where, okay, we're back into this accumulation phase, because there's no real, fib you can draw there. I suppose you could do this. I suppose you could do that and say, okay, well, the 618 held it. Now we've gone to the 23, so algo target hit. Maybe you start accumulating again. Maybe. I don't know. That's on the daily. Let's go down to the 1 hour and just see what that looks like. Is this a place to be accumulating? That was our fib target. Does that look like a buy? I guess on the theory that, you're buying it because it's down, wicking the 786, I guess you could make the case that, there was demand down here at these low levels. Does that mean that there's another rip higher? I don't know. I guess, again, my point being, you're going to see this pattern. The more you look at charts in crypto, you're going to see this a lot. This long accumulation period where you have, was that the break? Is that the start of the rip? Is it here? Where does it come? Again, I don't know how that's coming, but you're going to see that a lot. All right, I'm getting long-winded here. Okay, that's about 14 minutes here. I'll stop there. These all become, with those kind of reactions, they become currencies that now I know that I recognize the name. I can say that it's a coin that I would want to watch. So is it a matter of maybe just putting some alarms on it and say, okay, well, if we're gonna start breaking above the Vegas wave, I want to know about that. I want to be reminded. So maybe I can go down to something on a smaller time frame and look for an entry. But until then, these just become, that's the fear. All the way up, all the way back down. What does that mean? Did the story change? Right? Was everything that they thought was happening here now undone? I can't tell you. But you're going to see it a lot. All right, I'll wrap there, guys. Okay, back when I've got something new that I can show you in terms of getting into a trade. All right, that's it for now.